and NBC Sports coming at you for the Week 12 Fantasy Football Q&A, where you send me your questions and I send you some answers. As you know, I've never gotten one wrong in 2 years of doing this, almost 2 full seasons, and as you know, we don't get cute. This is the one guiding light of this live stream. We do not get too cute with our lineup decisions. I already see a question in the hopper. The kids are saying hopper. I'm trying to appeal to the Zoomers by using their language. On the Rotoworld football show the other day with Kyle and Pat, I used the word bugaboo because this is all the Zoomers can say now. Bugaboo this, bugaboo that, right? Skibbity bugaboo. Sigma bugaboo. Things of that nature. So I am trying to get a younger audience. You know, I can't just appeal to the elder millennials. We're getting too old. You know, entering our early 40s, which is crazy. Anyway, where was I going with that? Yeah, so we don't get too cute. While I wait for the questions to come in and send them in post haste, please. I will say that the Daniel Jones release from the Giants today caught me off guard. I was doing the fantasy football happy hour with Jay Croucher and Matthew Berry, and I saw it come across the old timeline, and I was taken aback, like the Anchorman gif, like that escalated quickly. That escalated quite quickly. You know, we're moving on, and he's gone. And apparently Daniel Jones asked ownership to be released, which I get. I mean, it's honestly a humiliation without equal to be benched for, I should say, Tommy DeVito, who I always want to call Danny DeVito, naturally, proving once again that I am an elder millennial. But it did catch me by surprise, and you know, I posted about this online, but my thoughts and prayers, not to get religious. We don't get religious on this stream, but my thoughts and prayers go out to all the guys on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, who wrapped up their entire identities over the past 3 or 4 years into defending Daniel Jones and into pretending Daniel Jones was a viable NFL starter, even going so far as to say Daniel Jones is an elite NFL starter. This was a thing that Giants fans said once upon a time, that he was not just a fine starter or a starter, but he was a high-end option in the NFL. And of course, he's never been that. Like, whether you want to do the nerdy metric thing or whether you want to watch the game, whatever you want to do there, Daniel Jones has not checked that box as high-end NFL starting quarterback. What happened was, at the end of the 2022 season, Brian Daboll decided to deploy Daniel Jones as a rushing threat, especially in the red zone. And that was smart. And that was a good call, because Daniel Jones is an athletic guy. He's pretty fast in the open field, not shifty, you know, it's not Lamar or anything, but that's the way to use him. And so you had games where Daniel Jones, at the end of that 2022 season, Daniel Jones is logging 10, 12 rushing attempts a game. Crazy stuff, right? And that worked. And it worked enough to propel the Giants into the postseason and then actually win a playoff game against the Vikings, I believe. Rest in peace, Vikings fans, man. Those people just have it tough. Anyway, so my thoughts go out to those guys, and you know, they were all guys who said and they systematically went after anyone who would say, well, Daniel Jones might not be good. or even suggested it. Well, I don't know if this guy's like a high-end starter. And they would just go ballistic on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter. And these same guys, it's been a tough 5 years for these guys, because they did the same thing with Joe Judge, the former head coach, who met Bill Belichick once. That was how he got the Giants job. They said, "Do you know Bill?" He said, "Well, I don't know him. I mean, I met him once." And they say, "You have the job. Welcome, man. You have the keys to the franchise." And of course, Joe Judge is the worst head coach in memory. In memory of anyone who's alive today, the worst head coach, worse than Urban Meyer, I would say. So these same guys who defended Daniel Jones defended Joe Judge. It's been rough. It's been rough. And I'm thinking of them. I'm sorry if this is not a space for that, but I'm thinking and I'm praying. I'm hoping they're okay. I hope you're okay. All right, let's get into your questions. That's right. I'm a company man, as Amplified to Rock says. My Rotoworld T-shirt. It's kind of coming off the letters, but we're gonna wear it for now. Oh, you can also find my regression files and my funnel defense report for Week 12 in the chat if you'd like to check that out. Of course, I will reference that throughout the show. Let's start with Michael Bittner. Michael Bittner says, ride the hot hand with Will Dissly at tight end in a good matchup, or go back to Trey McBride. Well, look, I'm a Dissly guy. If you know me, you know I'm a Dissly guy. If you know me, you know I will defend Will Dissly to the death. Okay, especially with my haters, my hating co-hosts on the Rotoworld Football Show. But I am in no way going to tell you to play Dissly against McBride. You know what we have. Here's what we have, and it's quite simple. We have a fantasy football manager who is getting too cute. Way too cute. And we don't do that. I said off the top, we don't get too cute. You're getting too cute immediately. Dissly over McBride. Way too cute. I'm completely tilted. Patrick Mel in the chat. He says, help. If Pacheco goes, play both him and Hunt. Oh, God. Or sit one of them for Roschon Johnson. Now, so DeAndre Swift has a groin issue. If Swift sits, then I would start Roschon and I guess Pacheco. I guess. It's really like Sunday morning. We're probably going to get a report from somebody, Pelissero, Jay Glazer, somebody, Fowler, they're going to say the Chiefs plan on limiting Pacheco, or the Chiefs plan on having no pitch count for Isaiah Pacheco in his return from a broken leg. God, and you know what? Just the fact that he's returning from a broken leg. I mean, we all remember Tony Pollard, right? He broke his leg and he wasn't right for a year afterwards. So, yeah. So just check on that. But I guess, I mean, if you think game script is going to be crazy enough for the Chiefs, then I guess Pacheco and Hunt could both get there. Big Dog. Call me Big Dog once again. We playing Tucker Kraft or Mark Andrews. I would go with Andrews. One thing about this Chargers-Ravens matchup, I mentioned this in the funnel defense report. The Chargers play too high safety coverage at the second highest rate in the NFL, only behind Minnesota. I think that should generate a good number of like short area targets for the Ravens. So that's mostly Zay Flowers season. And then secondarily, it's Mark Andrews season. So I'd go with Andrews, and then Darnold or Goff. I'd go with Goff. I mean, look, maybe Goff won't have to throw that much, but that offense is a machine. Many are saying. Lanny Horn is in the chat. Better week 14 fill-in. MVS against the Giants. Westbrook Akini against Jacksonville. Judy or Moore against Pittsburgh again. Oh, okay. So this is okay. So Jameis Winston came out after the Browns Thursday night victory, and he said, Jerry Judy's my guy. Like, I'm looking to him. And that's, for those of us who picked up Cedric Tillman thinking that Cedric Tillman would be his guy, those are hurtful words from Jameis Winston. I don't like it, but it is what it is. And so I guess Judy is the guy. So yeah, I would go with Judy easily there. And then you ask Goff, Kyler, or Nix. I guess that's for this week. And I would go with Nix actually. I wrote him up actually in the Funnel Defense Report. All right, on to Tim. Tim says he has 2 leaks. You got to pump up those numbers, brother. It's not enough. You need to be in so many leagues that when you watch Red Zone on a given Sunday and you see a big play, you are equal parts devastated and thrilled because, in 3 leagues, it helped that whatever big play just happened on your screen, it helped you a lot. Okay, you're loving it. Oh man, those 3 leagues. But in 4 leagues, that play basically ends your week, and maybe you hope to reach the playoffs. So you never want to feel too good or too bad about any one given play. You always want to be right in the middle. You want to temper the good feelings with the bad. So you need more leagues. Anyway, need a quarterback. Nix against the Raiders or Mayfield against Tommy Cutlets. Oh yeah, I did hear a report, not a bit, that Tommy DeVito has expanded his diet to not just chicken cutlets, and he no longer lives with his mom. So adjust the ranks, I guess, there for Thomas G. Cutlets III. I would go with Nix. I think Nix is a great play. And I would go with Herbert over Kyler. All right, Nicholas has a tough one. And it looks too cute on the surface, but I'm going to dig a little bit, and I'm going to say that it's not as cute as it seems, okay? Should I start Juwan Jennings or Terry McLaurin in half PPR? Now, the Commanders are now the run heaviest team in the NFL. Over the past 5 weeks, no one has even been close to as run heavy as the Commanders. And that has, been horrible for Terry McLaurin. Against the Giants 3 weeks ago, 2 catches for 19 yards. Then he had a big day against Pittsburgh with 5 catches for 113. Kind of got away with it. Was only targeted 6 times. And then last week against Philadelphia, 1 catch for 10 yards on just 2 targets. So, I mean, yes, it's a good matchup against the Cowboys. For folks who have Terry McLaurin, you're playing him. But if the choice is between Jennings and McLaurin, I actually feel very comfortable saying it's Jennings. I guess this assumes that Brock Purdy and his injured shoulder is going to be okay. Like he's gonna play this week. But Jennings is the clear wide receiver 1 in San Francisco. We talked about that on the Rotoworld Football Show, both on Tuesday and Thursday, if you'd like to check that out. But I see him as a wide receiver 1 overall in fantasy. Not the wide receiver, but a top 12 guy. And I'm not sure McLaurin is there. One thing about the Commanders, they're not using. I'm going to get a little bit nerdy here, if you don't mind. So the Commanders are not using pre-snap motion at all. I'm trying to find the numbers here. Yeah, so their play action rate has fallen off a cliff over the past 2 weeks, and they're not using a lot of pre-snap motion. So that's basically making it easy for defenses to key in on Terry McLaurin. And that's kind of what you get here, is a guy who is in a super massively run heavy offense where defenses can just say, well, we're taking away McLaurin. So just be careful with him this week and going forward. Chris Sales is in the chat. He says he dropped Estimate for Akers. He wants to know if that's a good idea. I don't know. I mean, it's okay. I mean, Akers saw 10 carries last week, which was more than Estimate. Estimate only had 6 carries, I believe. Didn't run any routes. And Cam Akers split pass routes with Aaron Jones last week. So I guess Akers is the better option there. Who's the better flex this week between Jameson Williams or MHJ? So the Seahawks are actually really good at defending downfield passes. They're allowing the 3rd lowest completion rate on pass attempts of over 20 yards. It's not a good spot for Marvin Harrison Jr. I would lean his direction over Jameson Williams a little bit, I guess. We have a kicker question. Arizona kicker Chad Ryland or Kansas City kicker Spencer Schrader? Yes, this is a real question. Of course it's a real question. Because you know why? Because 90+% of fantasy managers still play in leagues with a kicker. And this triggers the haters to no end. They cry and they cope about this. How could you play in a league with a kicker? My question is, how can you play in a league with a running back? You know what? Why do we have to have running backs in our lineups? They're unreliable. Sometimes I play a running back and they don't do well. What's with that? You know, I mean, I plug in a guy, trying to think here, a Bucky Irving, and he gets 13 carries and doesn't do much with it. I thought this was supposed to be a predictable game. No, you're telling me no? I say you get rid of running back before you get rid of kicker, easily. And you get rid of tight end, and obviously you get rid of defense and quarterback. Those are the positions we need to eliminate. I would go with Spencer Schrader. Super Shaq is in the chat. He wants to know if Aaron Jones is now the bank examiner's trainee coming for my bags. Yes, it is completely over for Aaron Jones. I think, to be real for a second, and he's still a top 24 option. This is what happens. This is the Aaron Jones experience. He has a couple good early season games. Everything's good. He gets dinged up. The team says, whoa. We can't give him this massive workload. And he had a huge workload in the Minnesota backfield for a while. So they don't do that. And they take him off the field, and he doesn't even get the passing down work to himself anymore. So like I said, be careful with him. Chris Sales back in the chat. Says, should I keep Drake May this week or pick up Anthony Richardson, Tommy DeVito, or Minshew? No, forget about Minshew and DeVito, but I like Drake May. So Drake May, the most dropbacks in the NFL over the past 3 weeks, outside of Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams, I should say. So lots of volume, 15 rushing attempts over his past 3 games. The Dolphins pressure the passer at the 4th lowest rate in the NFL. Should be a good environment for Drake May, volume-wise. And the Dolphins' pass defense doesn't scare me. It's not bad, but you can get by on them, and I think Drake May will. So I would go with him there. All right. So David is in the chat, says, play Kyler over Daniels, strongly considering you're looking powerfully into playing Kyler Murray over Jaden Daniels. We have our best people looking into this question. Okay. This is a tough one because look, Jaden Daniels is not running anymore. I've mentioned this stat. I'm just going to keep saying this stat. first 5 weeks of the season, Jaden Daniels was logging a rushing attempt on 33% of his dropbacks. That's wild and glorious. Okay? Like, if that had kept up, Jaden Daniels would easily be the number one scorer in all of fantasy. Unfortunately, he had a rib injury that the Commanders are pretending never happened. And they're, implementing a widespread gaslighting campaign about the Jaden Daniels injury. What injury? What are you talking about? There's been no injury. Well, what about the treatment he gets on the sideline every time he comes off the field? That's never happened. He's never been injured before in his life. And he has no injury. Well, he's clearly hurt. He's clearly playing hobbled. So he's not going to be running. That by the way, that scramble rate for Daniels has dropped down to 16% over the past 4 weeks. That stinks. Stinks. But Washington has a 27.5 point implied total against the Zombie Cowboys, as Jay Croucher said on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. I like that one, Zombie Cowboys. I'm going to go with it. Hope you don't mind, Jay. But I think Kyler's the play. Okay. Bo Nix or Kyler Murray. I said it earlier. I would go with Bo Nix. Jamal Lewis in the chat. Left Chubb on the bench. Seems like a bad weather PPR play going forward. Look, I mean, let's just be real about it. It was cool. It was cool for Nick Chubb to score 2 touchdowns in Cleveland against the Steelers, who, against whom he hurt his knee last year. He got away with it completely, right? I mean, a running back scores 2 touchdowns, he'll be fine for fantasy. But Chubb is still averaging less than 3 yards a carry since he returned to the lineup. So I had to play him in one league because of bye weeks. But don't get too excited. I'm begging you, do not get too excited. If you get too excited, you're out of the chat. It's as simple as that. Okay. If I sense that you're excited about Nick Chubb, I'm telling the moderators, the mods, this is what the Zoomers call them. I'm telling the mods, get this person out of the chat right now. They're saying, oh, Nick Chubb is good now. No, still bad. Still, how dare you? First of all. And secondly, get out. All right, Enrique, how concerned should we be with the 49ers pass catchers if Purdy sits? You have Kittle and Jennings could play Hawkinson over Kittle. Yeah, look. It's bleak. Brandon Allen, I believe, will start for the Niners if Purdy can't go. That is the end of days, unfortunately, for the 49ers offense. So if that happens, I would easily go with Hawkinson over Kittle, and then you just become religious and pray about Juwan Jennings. Neighbors or DeAndre Hopkins. I would go with Neighbors there. Cameron says, I'm down horrific after starting Tillman and Njoku on Thursday night. I need to choose 2 in full PPR. Wandell, Christian Watson, Ramondre Stevenson, Rico Dowdle. Oh, no, you're going to make me say it. You're going to make me do it. I don't want to do it, but I have to. I have no choice but to tout Rico Dowdle. Look, I'm not going to get too bogged down in this. I talked about it on the Rotoworld Football Show on Thursday's preview show. Oh, I wrote about it in the funnel report, which you can find on the site. Dowdle's in a quietly good spot, and he saw a really good workload before things got out of hand last week against the Texans. Washington's a huge run funnel. So I would go with Dowdle, and I would go with Ramondre. There you go. That was easy. Not really, but I'm going to pretend it was. Alicia says full PPR, choose 2 between Devontae Smith, DeAndre Hopkins, Josh Downs, Rico Dowdle. Don't make me do it again. All right, well, you got to go Downs. The Colts are going to be pass heavy, whether they like it or not. Chasing points against Detroit. So you go. Yeah, you can't play Dowdle. Downs and Devontae. I don't like it, but what can you do? Enrique says half PPR need one Downs, Jameson, or Jennings. It's Jennings if Purdy plays. If not, I think it's Downs. Jonathan says Quentin Johnston or Jaden Reed. Quentin Johnston is in a pretty nice spot, and he's seeing a good chunk of air yards in this Chargers offense. And the Chargers, they're pass curious now. Okay? They're top 5 in pass rate over expected over the past month and a half or month and change, whatever. No way to find out. They're passing. They're passing a lot, especially for a Greg Roman, Jim Harbaugh sort of offense. That's been good for Ladd McConkey, and I think it will be good for Quentin Johnston. Now, does he have a high variance profile? Of course he does. He's averaging like 20 plus air yards per target or something ridiculous. But when he hits, he's going to hit. And Jaden Reed, come on, man. Come on. We got to stop. We got to stop doing this thing, right? But first of all, the Packers just want to establish it. The targets are evenly distributed between 11 guys in the Packers passing offense. We got to stop with this. Oh, he's Baby Debo. Oh, Baby Debo. Well, Baby Debo stinks. He doesn't. He's actually good. And in a different offense, Jaden Reed would be amazing. I would go with Quentin Johnston. Do I think Daniel Jones will start again and win elsewhere? No. I mean, yes to the first one, but no to the second one. I mean, he'll start somewhere. This league is so quarterback thirsty, right? And this is why it made no sense that Jameis Winston has not been a starter for the past 2 or 3 seasons. Okay, here's a guy who has a strong arm. He does things, I don't know, like keep his eyes upfield when scrambling. I mean that's something that 12 starting NFL quarterbacks don't do that. They just immediately look down at the ground and get sacked, right? But Jameis Winston, I mean, not fleet of foot, but makes things happen out of the pocket. He can conduct an NFL offense. He can change the play at the line of scrimmage. There's no reason Jameis Winston shouldn't have been starting in the NFL for the past 3 seasons. So Daniel Jones will get a shot elsewhere, and he will probably fail elsewhere. Logan is in the chat. Chuba, Jonnu Smith, or Jacoby Myers in the flex. I mean, Jonnu's on a hot streak. I'm not going to recommend a tight end in the flex, though. Chuba will remain the lead back with Jonathan Brooks coming back. But the Chiefs' defense is just snuffing out every rushing attack they face. Like it's kind of freakish at this point. Like all the nerdy metrics say, like you just can't. Like you can't play your running back against Chiefs. Now, like, do I have to play Chuba Hubbard in a couple leagues? I do. In fact, thanks for asking, first of all, but I have no choice because I don't have a lot of good running backs. Believe it or not. Me, the 0 RB guy, down pretty bad at running back. And of course, I don't have Saquon Barkley and Joe Mixon, so I'm struggling this season because those are the only 2 players who matter in fantasy anymore. It's a fun season when it only matters, did you draft these 2 guys? If so, then you win. If not, then you lose. That's a fun season. I love this game. It's Jacoby Myers is what I'm saying. Raiders, 78% dropback rate last week, 9% over expected, season high in both categories. So the Norville / Scott Turner offense in Vegas is just going to establish the pass. Antonio Pierce is probably tilting his face off while his team passes a lot. I oversensed cuteness is what this person says. All right, we have a question. Denzel, May, or Stroud? I don't know who Denzel is. I'll be honest with you. I don't know who Denzel is. Denzel, as in Washington? Are you looking forward to Gladiator 2? Electric Boogaloo? I'm trying to appeal to the kids. I would go with May. Don't go with Denzel. Can you miraculously predict Jonathan Brooks' usage against the Chiefs? I can. He's going to have 5 touches and going to do nothing with them. There you go. Yes, there are far too many cute questions in the chat, as this person says. How bleak? This person wants to know, how bleak are things for Garrett Wilson rest of season? I mean, not too bleak. He's still going to see double-digit targets every week. I mean, they're low-quality targets because they're coming from Aaron Rodgers, but he should be fine. He should be fine as a top 12 option. Gremlin Brotherhood is in the chat. All right, calls me Daddy Denny. I'm a little caught off guard a little bit. But this person needs a kicker. Jason Myers against Arizona. Jake Elliott against the Rams. Will Lutz against Vegas. Now, we have to remember, class, there is a kicker process. And what you want are kickers who are going to have game script on their side, either positive or neutral game script throughout. That way, their teams don't forego second half opportunities for field goals to chase touchdowns, right? So that's the thing. And that's why I would tell you Will Lutz, because I think the Broncos are going to humiliate the Raiders this week. So Lutz is the play. Now, Jake Elliott is also a good play. I would avoid Jason Myers because I would guess, the Seahawks enter this game as underdogs against the Cardinals. So it doesn't really fit the process. Malik Neighbors or Jameson. I'd go with Malik Neighbors. I mean, hopefully he just turns into a total scam with Tommy Cutlets under center. Just go with him. This person says, would it be wild to drop Pittman this week? Not wild. Look, Pittman has, I think, Matthew Berry said on the Happy Hour show that Pittman has over 50 yards twice this season. And there's no way for me to find out right now. I'm going to go with Matthew, though. That's tough. I will say that the Lions, who the Colts take on this week, are the second most extreme pass funnel defense in the league, behind only the Ravens. The Colts are going to have to drop back a lot here. It could be good for Pittman. But again, don't feel like you have to hang on to him. Boda is in the chat. Wants a flex in PPR. Josh Downs, Brian Robinson, Calvin Ridley, or Juwan Jennings. That's a lot of really great options. So Brian Robinson is in a great spot against a dead-on arrival Cowboys rush defense. Like I said earlier, Washington is now by far the run-heaviest team in the NFL. He gets a lot of inside the 10 work. So I would say it's Robinson, but it's tough. It's tough to bench Jennings, I have to say. All right, I'm going to get to a few more, and then I'm going to get into some nerdy metrics that might help you with your start sits. We have a question here. Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert, or Jordan Love? So Jordan Love, always a candidate for a hyper-efficient game because he throws downfield. He's one of the only existing quarterbacks who still throws deep into too deep coverage. He's one of those guys who says, F it, Christian Watson down there somewhere. Sorry to the kids for using the language there, but I had no choice. But the Niners are a huge run funnel, and I think they're just going to establish it. So I would not go with Love. Baker's a fine start. I would go with Herbert. Jonathan Reardon, sit 1 in PPR. J.K. Dobbins, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, or Kyron Williams. J.K. Dobbins is in just the worst spot, is what I would say. You have Gus Edwards cutting into his workload. You have Hassan Haskins, because Jim Harbaugh coached him at Michigan. Hassan Haskins is inexplicably getting goal line looks for the Chargers, right? J.K. Dobbins only ran a route on like 30% of the dropbacks last week. Like, I don't know. I can't see a path for him. So I would just go ahead and bench him. All right. Pick 2 in non-PPR. Evans, Puka Nacua, and Neighbors. I would go with Nacua and Evans. Evans is going to, as the kids say, eat this week against the Giants. Streaming defense question: Titans or the Bucks? Well, it's easily the Bucks. The Bucks are probably the best defensive play in the NFL, besides maybe the Lions this week, I should say. It's the Bucks. Bucks. Mr. Taters is in the chat. How am I feeling? He wants to know, how am I feeling rest of season about underperforming tight ends Tucker Kraft, Sam Laporta in tight end premium? God, I hate tight end premium. I mean, come on, let's just accept that tight end stinks. Like, we don't have to artificially inflate their value. Okay? We got to get the Federal Reserve to look into this strongly. So you're competing for flex spots against Stevenson, Bucky Irving, Javonte Williams. So yeah, Tucker Kraft is going to be very high variance. He's never going to see many targets, maybe 4 or 5 a game. He is a big play guy because he's good, he's fast, he separates, in coverage. And then Laporta is banged up. I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. I feel better about Laporta than I do about Kraft. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There you go. And let's get to Kyle, and then I'll get to the nerdy metrics. With J.C. Horn back for the Carolina Panthers defense, do you see an increased role for Xavier Worthy in the slot this week for the Chiefs? Well, possibly, but I'm guessing that DeAndre Hopkins is gonna take that role. Let me just look real quick, because you have piqued my interest. So on the season, Worthy is running a route from the slot on 34% of his routes. Over the past 2 weeks, it's been 23% and 26%. That's rather low. And I think that has everything to do with DeAndre Hopkins. I'd be surprised if they put him into the slot. All right. Charles says, which quarterback am I starting? Baker, Justin Herbert. They also have Mike Evans for the Baker Evans stack. I mean, in redraft, I wouldn't read too strongly into that. Look, they're both good starts. I feel better overall about Justin Herbert. Tommy Cutlets looms large over this Bucs offense, because this is a guy who, talking about Cutlets, last year he was sacked on 40% of his pressures, which led the league. That's crazy. What are you doing? What is going on? Throw the ball. Throw it. Which is why, look, sacks are a quarterback stat. Okay, this is why. Caleb Williams, he has no help from his offensive line. It's his fault. I'm sorry. It's all his fault. It has nothing to do with anybody else. He won't throw the dang ball. So it's the same thing with Tommy Cutlets. Look, if DeVito completely folds here, Mayfield probably doesn't get there. Evans probably doesn't get there. One of the running backs for Tampa will get there, likely, in that scenario. So that looms large. I think Justin Herbert will be pushed. I think this is a back and forth type game. I like him better. All right, we're going to get to some nerdy metrics that might help you with running back choices for week 12. Every week we do this, as fans of the stream know. I'm going to read to you, class, about yards before contact per attempt and who is giving up the most and who is giving up the fewest in that category, because yards before contact per attempt correlates closely to long runs and to good rushing performances. So at the top of the list, we have the Commanders giving up the highest rate of yards before contact per attempt by a good margin. And that's why I kind of think if game script is okay here, I think that Rico Dowdle is interesting. I'm sorry. I thought this was America and I had the right to say what I want, So don't cut my mic, producer Adam. Let me tell the people that Rico Dowdle's in a good spot. Okay, it is, of course, my right to do that. The Bills are second. The Bills are, I guess they're not playing this week. Bears are third. Bears give up the third most yards before contact per attempt. Potentially a good spot for Aaron Jones. Maybe if you want to get crazy, you go Cam Akers. Cowboys are fourth. I mentioned them. Ryan Robinson should eat. Saints are fifth. They're off. Panthers are sixth. The Panthers give up the sixth most. So whoever gets the workload, the kind of lead back role for Kansas City should be in a good spot, really good spot against basically a Panthers defensive line that just gets pushed around. That's what this means. Okay, that's what this stat means. Seattle gives up the seventh most yards before contact per attempt. So it's James Conner season. Let's go down to the bottom of the list and tell you which teams give up the lowest rates of yards before contact per rush attempt. The Broncos at the very bottom here. I mean, look, the Raiders will probably have an 80% drop back rate. It maybe north of 80% this week. They're just not going to be able to run it at all. There's going to be no point in trying to run the ball against the Broncos. The Broncos secondary gets a lot of attention, rightfully so. Their rush defense is also really good. The Chiefs are second in this category, second best, I should say. Like I said, horrible spot for Chuba Hubbard, nightmare spot for Jonathan Brooks, even if he even plays. The Vikings are third best in yards before contact per attempt. If Roschon Johnson starts and Swift is out, you're playing Johnson. You're hoping that he gets there somehow, but it's a really bad spot. Houston is fourth best in this category. I don't know what to tell you about Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, but bad spot overall. All right, let's get back to your questions. We have about 17 minutes left. The person wants to know Daniels or Knicks this week. Oh man, this is unnecessarily difficult. I would have rather you not ask this. I guess I go with Daniels. I hate it, but I'll go with Daniels. All right. This person needs to fill one running back spot and one flex spot with Bucky Irving, Rico Dowdle, and DJ Moore. DJ Moore saw 4 very short area basically screens last week. That was one of the main takeaways from the post Shane Waldron Bears offense, was that they clearly, they wanted Caleb Williams to get the ball out quickly instead of run around like he's still playing at USC. That does not work in the NFL, as Caleb is so rudely finding out week after week after week. So part of this effort to get the ball out of his hands means to get the ball to DJ Moore. I wouldn't be surprised if DJ Moore sees 4 or 5 short area targets this week, along with whatever he gets in the primary, and then maybe even, it might be crazy, might get a downfield target. Who knows? So I think you got to play him, especially PPR. You're playing him, and then it's between Bucky Irving and Rico Dowdle. I guess you go with Bucky Irving there. Yeah, I can't go all in on Rico Dowdle. I have to hedge my bets somewhat. Riaz is in the chat, full PPR. Dobbins or Tracy. I actually would go Tracy there. And then Broncos defense or Texans defense. So the Texans are probably like in the range of outcomes for the Texans includes like 12 sacks this week, because Will Levis has one of the league's highest pressure to sack ratios. Like Caleb Williams, he never gets the ball out. The defensive line for the Texans is going to overwhelm the underperforming Tennessee offensive line. You also have a mismatch of special teams. So you have the Texans have one of the best special teams units in the league, right? And the Titans have the dead dog bottom, the worst, right? The kids are saying the stone worst special teams unit in the NFL. So I would actually lean toward the Texans there. And then this person wants to know Richardson or Caleb. I'd go with Richardson. I would go with Richardson. Let's see. Full PPR. You're listing so many. St. Brown, Jefferson, JSN, and Jennings sit 1. Too cute to sit Jefferson. Wow. God. Look, I try to issue warnings about cuteness, and I try to be polite about it. I can't be polite anymore. Obviously, it's not working. It's not working if I have people storming into the comments saying, should I sit Justin Jefferson? Should you? Do you think you should? I don't think you should. I think you should play the best receiver in the NFL. That's just me. That's me. You know, should you play a generational talent? Should you play a guy who's seeing like 50% of the air yards in his offense? Yes. I'm not mad. I just want people to know, please, I'd appreciate if you tell media outlets, including newspapers, that I'm not mad. I am disappointed. Yeah, so you're playing St. Brown, you're playing Jefferson, and you're playing Jennings. You're playing Jennings if Purdy suits up. If not, you just go with JSN. Mr. Bugaboo. That's what they're calling me. That's what the kids are calling me. Can you help me out? I can. Pick two of these to start. Kareem Hunt, MHJ, Tyrone, Q, Tracy the fifth. I guess Tracy and I mean, if Pacheco for some reason doesn't play, I just want folks to know Kareem Hunt is a must play. Like, he's like, you got to find a way to get him into your dang lineup. Sorry for the language. Again, to the kids watching, I'm sorry, but sometimes you have to use strong language to get the point across. But assuming Pacheco's playing, I'll go with MHJ and Tracy. I already answered that one. Chris Sales says, thanks. Yes, right. And happy Thanksgiving to you, my fellow Marylander. I can't wait to feast on crabs for Thanksgiving, as is tradition in the great state of Maryland, where we simply buy 100 crabs per household. It's actually afforded to us through the government, delivered to our doorstep on Thanksgiving morning. The kids, they wake up, you hear the pitter patter of their feet, and they run from their rooms and they run to the front door. And what is there but a pile of 100 crabs given to you by the Maryland state government? You know, that's how we do it. And it's a grand tradition. And hardly anyone knows about it. This might be the first time you're hearing about it. That's unfortunate. This is only for people born in Maryland, by the way. If you were not born in Maryland, you move here, whatever, you're not getting the crabs. But for me, lifelong Marylander, I get the crab. I get 100 crabs on my doorstep Thanksgiving morning. And then I have to kill the crabs, which is a whole different thing. All right. Jonathan says, full PPR, Quentin Johnston or Jaden Reed. I mentioned, yes, it's Quentin. It's Quentin. Stroud or Caleb Williams, I would go with Stroud. Baker or Kyler, I would go with Kyler. Would I start Anthony Richardson or Will Levis over Jaden Daniels? I would not. I would not do that. Packers or Dolphins this week? Dolphins defense. If Purdy sits, then it's obviously the Packers. If not, I guess I'd go with the Dolphins. Let's see. I'm going to try to get to some more here. We have 10 minutes. Would I start Lamar Jackson or Mayfield? I would start Lamar. Let's not get crazy, man. This is too cute. That's way too cute. Wait a second. You try to sneak one past me? You thought I wasn't going to notice. You just quietly just typed in the chat, Lamar or Mayfield. Brother, sister, Eric, listen to me. What? I mean, Lamar has one, not good game against a really tough Steelers defense. 1. And you're like, I don't know. I got to bench him. He's been setting the world on fire for a month and a half. Excuse me. Perry says Lions defense or Broncos. And then Knicks or Daniels. I said Daniels earlier. I'm not going to report you to the authorities if you play Knicks, but I would go with Daniels. And then I would go. I'd go with the Broncos defense there. That's tough. I mean, those are 2 good options. I feel like you can't go terribly wrong with the Broncos defense or the Lions defense. Brandon says MHJ Jameson or Quentin Johnston. I guess you're going with Harrison there. I don't love it, but whatever. Since I'm going with Kyler over Daniels, you think you know the answer, but would I go with Herbert over Daniels? Yeah, I would. Let's go. Let's do it. Herbert over Daniels. Daniel's in the chat. I just want to say, you love it when I get nerdy. Well, you and my wife. Am I right? No, she actually doesn't. For some reason, she doesn't like to hear about rush yards over expected. She doesn't like to hear about rush yards before contact per attempt. She doesn't like to hear about pass rate over expected. Other things that are over expected. She's not a fan. All right. We have a kicker question. Kickers. Jacob G. Moody or Jason Z. Myers. What do we say? The process. I'd go with Moody. But barely. Neither of those are really great plays. Full PPR, choose one. Juwan Jennings, assuming Purdy starts, Quentin Johnston or DeAndre Hopkins. It's Jennings. Charles, which quarterback am I starting? Herbert. Yeah, I already answered that. Come on, man. Stop putting your stuff in the chat twice. My contempt for tight ends and support for kickers is quite concerning. I'm sorry. I mean, that's how I feel. And feelings are better and more meaningful than facts, as we know. Someone is in the chat says, who has higher upside as a flex, Downs or Dottle? It's Downs. All right. I like Dottle as a cutesy little play, but I'm not playing him over Downs. Let's get real. Pittman or Worthy? Forget Worthy, man. Come on. Total bust. Go with Pittman. There'll be a lot of passing in that game. Stroud versus what? Stroud versus Rush or DeVito, seeing as how Stroud lost to Rush in fantasy points in their matchup. This stinks of cuteness. Look, the Titans defense is not good, and their secondary, they're actually allowing the 5th highest passing success rate over the past 5 weeks. So I will just say go with Stroud. Go with Stroud, my son or daughter. Michael says Neighbors reportedly dealing with a groin injury heading into the weekend. I mean, if he plays, you're playing him, you know. Is he? I'm seeing people in the chat saying that like Neighbors is not going to play. Is that? He's a late addition to. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, keep an eye on that. Keep it tuned in to rotoworld.com for the latest on Malik Neighbors maybe ruining my life. That'll be fun. Sit one, Den Dog. DeAndre Hopkins or my boy. Come on, he's not my boy. But yeah, Hopkins or Dowdle or DJ Moore. Oh, God, what have I done with Dowdle? I'm really not trying to like mess with you guys. Like, he's in a good spot. I don't know what to say. Sit one? You're sitting. Oh God, you're sitting Dowdle. You guys are making me do this. Why? Okay, yeah, I'm seeing neighbor's groin. I see it. Stanley says he's out. Thanks for the show and going live. He'll be back. I appreciate that, Stanley. I appreciate you coming back eventually. Stuntman Chuck, help, says two quarterback queries, sir. Bo Nix or Justin Herbert, and lower down the totem pole, sir. Good sir, you've won the internet. Pick one. Gino, Matthew Stafford, Richardson, or gasp, Drake May. Mm-hmm. Geno Smith's in a good spot. The haters will tell you he's not, but go with him. Yeah, right. Index of Suspicion says, along with the 100 crabs you get for Thanksgiving in the state of Maryland, you get a tub of melted butter and a little hammer. That's what Maryland does. Maryland does crab cakes, they do football, and they do 100 free crabs at your doorstep on Thanksgiving morning. Ask anyone. All right. We have 4 minutes left. 3 minutes. Okay. Half PPR, Marvin Harrison or Jameson Williams. Okay, I'd go with Marvin. And am I crazy for leading Williams? You're not crazy for leading Williams. Thanks for the help, Dennison J.K. Carter the 7th. I am, of course, the 7th. Pacheco or Josh Jacobs rest of the season. I would say Josh Jacobs, seeing a lot of good opportunity. Kyler or Herbert. I would lean Herbert. Let's see. Debo. Let's see. We have a question here from Michael Haynes. Calls me the Deninator, which I'll take. It's weird, but all right. Debo or Josh Downs this week. Josh Downs. Aaron Jones or Tyron Tracy. It's Tracy by a hair. We have a question. Full PPR. Quentin Johnson, J.K. Dobbins, or DeAndre Hopkins. Quentin. Let's go with Quentin. Let's go. If Malik Neighbors doesn't get a touchdown this weekend, I might have a nervous breakdown. Ezra, you and me both. Here's what I thought going into the season. You get Jaden Daniels, you get Malik Neighbors, you log out, and it looked good. You know, when Jaden Daniels was averaging 12 rushes a game and Neighbors was trending literally toward 200 plus targets on the season, I have never felt like more of a genius. Okay. And trust me, I have felt like a genius many times, if only temporarily. And I thought I was on to something, but it turns out both ended up being horrific fantasy options. What can you do? Except for build a time machine and go back and draft Saquon Barkley and Joe Mixon everywhere? Because again, like I said earlier, they are the only two players who matter in fantasy football. And I hate it. Andrew, who would I start in the flex? Estimate Worthy, Pearsall, Leggett. Pearsall is no. Estime is no. I guess Leggett. The Chiefs are a pass funnel, so whatever. Anthony Richardson or May. I'd lean May there. Bo Nix will be the next Carson Wentz. All right. Steven says Schoonmacher. No one knows how to say that. Theo Johnson, likely, or Fant this week. If Ferguson sits, I would go with the Schoonmaker. Whoever that guy is, I'd go with him. Let's see. Rico Dowdle or Saquon Barkley. You're messing with me, Ezra. I don't like it. It's Rico. No, I'm kidding. It's Saquon, only player who matters in fantasy. Chris says, well, okay, that was weird. Let's see. Mark, who should I start in 10-team league? Goff or Knicks? You know what? I'm going to say Knicks. I wrote them up in the Funnel Defense Report if you'd like to read that. Oh, folks, we have run out of time. Listen, you can find all my work on Rotoworld. I appreciate you all tuning into the Friday chat every week, Join me for week 13. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be back on the Friday after Thanksgiving doing the stream at noon Eastern time, the only legitimate time zone. My belly will be full of crabs because, again, that's what Maryland does on Thanksgiving. Until then, good luck to you and only you in week 12.